I'm Candid Frank Stanisci of NLL Lacrosse Talk. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now joining us is our co-host Gary Groob and a very special guest, Jake Bergey, NLL legend, and if you need a hip, knee, or a shoulder replaced, he's a good guy to talk to.
Hey, Jake. Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
The first thing we always do, we always ask players, former players, even coaches, anybody, what brought you to lacrosse?
Oh man, it started back probably in about the third grade. My older brother was playing. We were in a small private school. There was only about 25 kids per class, so they made everyone play ice hockey, lacrosse, and soccer. And that's all the sports they had. So I picked it up in about the third grade, just kind of following my brother's footsteps, and took a liking to it. And I could tell at an early age that it was something I wanted to do for a long time.
Now, when you talk about lacrosse, obviously that got you in. What keeps you in? What's your favorite part of the game?
Oh man, I guess it's probably just the hard hitting, the speed. It really just encapsulates everything that that I liked in sports, and the finesse and the hitting and the speed and the goal scoring, and it just was I feel like it was built for me. I was a fast guy for my size, and I could hit and I could score. So just an absolute great game to play.
Now you got two pictures behind you. One says the 2004 All-Star game, and the other one looks like a Wings jersey, Philadelphia.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So they're I have three jerseys. I'll actually see if I can turn this a little bit. And that was from our Heritage Cup game up in Hamilton, I believe it was. Yep. So those are my three. The Wings, obviously, near and dear to my heart, and always will be. One of my All-Star jerseys and one of my Team USA jerseys. So, that's got all three covered.
Yeah, ironically, I have one of the other All-Star jerseys that you were on with the 2006 team.
I have that one too.
And the Heritage one, I remember that one also because being up in Hamilton, and that was the Team USA upset, was it not?
It was, yeah. So that was, a lot of people ask me, just throughout my career, some of my greatest lacrosse moments, and that one ranks up there with the top. When you're going against, the Gate brothers and John Grant and you name it, the who's who in indoor lacrosse. Mm-hmm. And a bunch of Americans coming in, just gritty guys that really, we had some big names, but not like the Canadians did, and come into their country and upset them. That was that was up there on my list.
Right. Yeah. No, that Heritage Cup, I wish they would, there'd be a little bit more of that. The last one a few years ago was a pretty amazing one also.
Yep.
Let's go back a little bit further. Let's go back to high school, All-American in Tottenham School. Let's talk about that because we talked about how you got started and in grammar school, really.
Yeah, and right.
In there, and let's talk about the program coaches. This is what kept you interested, really.
Yeah, I have a really dear friend, Clee Edgar, who was my coach back then, and really just kept me involved in, I went to school in Wilmington, Delaware, a small private school called the Tatnall School. And, I again, just took a love to the sport. And it was one of those things, you go out and it's 90 degrees. I loved going out. I never had that dread of, here, I got to go to practice. It was just one of those things. So, Clee Edgar was, like I said, my coach and a mentor of mine. And, by the time I graduated high school, we won a couple state championships, and we won a couple of, our league championships, and ended up being All-American and All-State in the state of Delaware.
Wow. And you go from there, and you wind up in Salisbury State, and you have yourself quite a career in there as well. Let's talk a bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So Salisbury, again, I came from Delaware, small lacrosse in the scheme of things. So I didn't know I was going to be good enough to play at a Division I level or to be honest, even at a Division III high level. So Coach Berkman down at Salisbury, he certainly had some faith in me and really pushed me to come there. And I'm so glad I did. I enjoyed every second of it down there. But we ended up winning 2 championships down there. It was 3-time All-American at Salisbury, and just really, lifelong memories, lifelong friends there, and I wouldn't have changed anything for the world.
Right. I'm curious now. Your involvement with the Wings. You're a field guy.
Yep.
And you're going out now for a box team. How did that come about?
Well, it's funny, I had season tickets for the Wings my whole life. I think I started getting them probably in about 5th grade. I got season tickets. And then my dad had known a couple of the older Wings players that he worked out with at the gym, and they got us some tickets every now and then. And so I always had a passion for indoor lacrosse. Looked up to these guys, and then when I started getting close to graduating, I realized I had a shot to play indoor. I did think that I was kind of built for the game with my size and speed and stick skills. So, I kind of was relatively still unknown, even though I had a great Division III career. I think a lot of guys kind of look over that for obviously the Canadians and some of the higher D1 guys. So I think I kind of went under the radar. I did know some of the older Philadelphia Wings guys, Scott Gabrielson, some of those guys. And, I think kind of word got up through the chain that I wanted to play. And fortunately I was drafted in Philly and spent my whole career here.
Right. And of course, while you're trying out, you're meeting up with the team bully, Steve Covett.
Oh yeah. That we had some great battles. I told the story to Steve on his podcast one time, but it was early in my rookie year, and I was playing like the scout team offense, and we were going against the starting defense and man up, man down. I just remember the ball coming around, and I'd get it, and I'd throw it away, and Govett would come out, and wham, he'd give me a slap. And it happened about 3 or 4 times, and I just remember he came out, and just as he was coming out to slash me, I hauled off and punched him in the face, and his mask kind of pushed back in and busted his eye open, and blood's coming down. I thought for sure I was going to get kicked off the team for that, punching one of the senior guys there. But Govett and I had great relationship ever since, and I think I gained a lot of respect in his eyes doing that.
Right. Well, that team, the one thing it's really, really known for was being very close. That entire Wings organization, a lot of guys from the area, and kind of grew up all together. And
I think that team was unique, especially in today's game, where we did have a core of Philadelphia guys. You don't even really get a core of American guys on a single team these days, hardly. But we had, probably a good half to 3/4 of our team were Americans, and then you had Marichek, who lived down in Baltimore, and Dallas was in the area. So it was great. Really, it was a team bonding, all week, and then obviously through the weekends for the games.
Right. Now, as the team's going along, your first year is 1998, and supposed to be a rebuild year. You just lost Gary Gate. He'd just gone over to Baltimore, and they threw a lot of money at him, and off he went. And use the name and start building other places. But this team did basically the impossible. Let's talk about that team and how it came together to win the championship that year.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't know any different, right? I watched the Wings play, but I've been in college the last 4 years, so I didn't really go to many games. I certainly knew that the Gate brothers were there, and it was obviously those were guys that I looked up to my whole career. I mean, if you could probably name two guys that that I wanted to be like, it was the Gate brothers. And I was going to Philly, and then they get traded, obviously, which was understandable. You got to do what you got to do, but and then getting in and playing with those guys, and I'll never forget, we had a couple games where I see myself lined right up against Gary, and one play in particular, it was kind of the end of the game. I think we were up by a goal or two. This wasn't a playoff game, but we were up by a couple goals, and they had to pressure us at the end of the game, and I kind of made a quick move and ran by Gary Gate and dished it off to a quick goal, and just kind of a reality check that I just ran by Gary Gate for a goal, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, that team, guys like Billy Miller and Volker and Gabrielson, and obviously you got Dallas and Marichek and the superstars. It was just it was a really good, solid, scrappy team.
Yeah, because I remember we had Dallas on here, I guess about a year ago. And, he came across two of them, right? Both victories, the 2001 that we're going to get to. But he made this one actually the most favorite, just because of all the turmoil beforehand and no expectations whatsoever. And that this team just gelled, bonded. And not only did you do that, but, it was the best 2 out of 3 finals. And it was 2 games to nothing you guys won. And I think the second game was 17-12. It was just, it wasn't close. You guys just absolutely steamrolled, Baltimore.
Yeah,
on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I remember, just recently watching one of those games on Dallas's channel. We were talking about prior to the show, but I just remember, I remember Billy Miller was playing defense against Gary Gate in that game, and got him so worked up that Gary threw a punch at him. It's something you just hardly ever saw. And you could just tell that team just got under their skin. And, the whole expectation thing, I was kind of unaware of, just coming out of college, and, I'm just going to play, I plan on winning every single time I get out, so sure. I didn't really have that aspect to me. Like, we were super big underdogs. I know we're playing against a couple of the greatest guys, to ever play the game. So, just the grittiness is what I remember of that team.
Right. Now you were wearing number 66, and that's more as an honor to your father, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. My father was a NFL football player, played for 13 years, and, was my hero growing up, right. Obviously outside of lacrosse. And, is a big fan favorite here in Philadelphia. And I just thought it'd be cool for, you have another, 66 jersey running around Philadelphia. So he was, he is my biggest fan still. And certainly when I played, came to the majority of my games, and just, he loved it just like I love watching my son play.
Right. Now, when you got into the NLL, it had just gotten away from being the MILL and gone into being NLL.
Correct.
I know you were in as a rookie. Did you see many changes coming around, or did you hear about many different changes as it was developing in NLL?
No, I guess, the change as a player was, one, they went to shorts instead of those tight spandex they wore. So that was a relief.
Avoided the spandex.
Yeah. No, the only thing is there was a player lockout the year that I came in, and I was so geeked up and ready to play the season. And I'll never forget, we had Chris Flynn and a couple of the older guys were like, "Hey, we're sitting out as a team," and it just crushed me, because all I wanted to do was get out there and start playing. But we stuck together as a team, and they worked out the PLPA and the league, so everything ended up fine, and we played that season.
You also had the experience of going in an expansion draft, talking about how great it was with the Wings. How surprising was that to you, and what impact did it have on you?
Well, it wasn't terribly surprising, to be honest. I was getting towards the end of my career. I was coming back off an injury. Probably most people didn't think I had too much time left. So I just remember coaches, talking to me, say, we're going to leave you unprotected. And if you get picked up, we'll work some deal out to try to get you back. And, I was okay with it. And that was the prior year. So it actually happened twice.
Mm-hmm.
Happened the one time, and then Boston sat out one more year and they were going to come back. And Tom Ryan, who was a teammate of mine, was the head coach for the Boston team, and texted me, said, hey, we're going to probably pick you up in the expansion draft. We just have to do that because, it's in our best interest. And so they picked me up, and it was kind of an easy way to ease into retirement. I would have never gone anywhere else to play. Philly is my home. And at that point in my career, young family, I figured, with them picking me, hey, let's just end up, wrap this thing up, and actually helped me out because, retiring's a tough decision to make, especially when you're still playing at a fairly high level.
Mm-hmm.
I came back after my injury. I had one of my better seasons. So it was an easy way to get out. And that's what I did.
I guess for lacrosse players, a lot of it is, quality of life, because you live lacrosse. We hear all the time, we see all the time how often and how long players play. They play all year round. So I guess you really got to enjoy playing to play.
Yeah, you really do. And for probably the first 5 years of my career, what I did was run camps and lacrosse clinics and all kinds of things like that. So when I wasn't even running those, I was going out promoting lacrosse. It was lacrosse 24/7, and it burns you out. And that was the other thing. I didn't want to be one of those guys that was playing at the end of the career and didn't want to do it at all. And I never got to that point, thankfully. But it just was, it was starting to be, my body was starting to break down. And I took a full-time job doing the orthopedic sales. And then I was taking 2 weeks off of my job, and I was coaching lacrosse camps. And it just got tough on me. And, it was in the best interest to just kind of hang it up. And I stopped doing my camps and started coaching my son's team. And that was a easy transition.
It seems, when we look at, how lacrosse players, how their lives, take twists and turns and all kinds of stuff. It doesn't surprise me that your story is one that's not rare, but it's not the kind that gets a lot of attention, because lacrosse players really love to stay in the game.
Yeah.
But you're doing it in a different way. You're offering new parts to players.
Well, I don't think many of them are playing after they get the new parts, but we'll keep them together for a little bit.
Yeah,
right. I started. I guess it was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. I was down in Ocean City, Maryland, and there's a big lacrosse tournament down there. One of my buddies asked if I'd play on their team, and I played, and I just remember my knee swelling up like the size of a balloon, and I said, you know what, that's it. I can't do it. I can't play old man lacrosse anymore. Had my knee drained and sailed off into the sunset. So that was it.
Can you imagine Gary going into Bergey with the dressing room, and he pulls a bag and he starts pulling out shoulders, knees. Oh, wrong bag.
Right, yeah. Well, also you didn't mention, you talked about the camps and things like that, but in the summertime you also played Major League Lacrosse for a number of years too, until you got hurt. That's not easing out of it. That's time gig.
And what was even worse, not that it was bad that I was playing up in Rochester, but we were weekend warriors, so we'd go up there on like a Thursday night and stay Thursday through the game. You'd have a couple practices, you'd have the game, and then I was driving back to Philadelphia, and it was me and Brian Doherty, who's a great field U.S. goalie, played on the wings for a couple years as well. And we would drive up there, and we actually roomed with a couple other greats, Tracy Kluski and John Grant up there when we played for Rochester. So the four of us, were in a little place up there, and they'd go their way at the end of the weekend back up north, and we'd head back down south and do it all over the next weekend.
Isn't that amazing about lacrosse? That's another thing that's, uniquely lacrosse, and that is the great players. Almost everybody in lacrosse, as long as you have a career somewhere, you end up playing with or against the greatest players that lacrosse has to offer.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
It's
absolutely. And the first time I saw that at all was after my rookie year in the NLL. There was guys that were trying to get me to come up and play in Canada in the summer, and something that I kind of regret not doing, because I love watching, all the Canadian games. But I remember I had a really good rookie year, and coming full circle, Gary had called and asked if I wanted to come out and play with the Shamrocks in the summer. So I wish I could have done that. I wish I could have gotten out there, but unfortunately, it just wasn't in the cards for me at that time.
Yeah, because you're talking about the Canadians going north, and well, they're going to play MSL during the week. So
yeah, right. Yeah. No, it's tough, but just like you said, you start playing with these guys, but playing with John Grant and Kaluski and Casey Powell, I'm tight with, and some of the other American guys. It's just between the MLL and the NLL, I got to play with the best the game had to offer.
Yeah, maybe that's why, it's such a family atmosphere in lacrosse, because you do know everybody as an opponent and as a teammate. And, it kind of does create the brotherhood feeling that is clearly evident to us every time we have somebody on, because everybody has a story about a great player they played with and against, not either or, both. So,
right. Yeah.
And that's a lot of family kind of feeling, right?
Sure. And it's kind of almost understandable, right? So you go, you play a game, and you're not making millions of dollars like some of the other sports. So you're playing it for the love of game. You're playing it to have fun. So after the game, you go out, you have a couple beers, and the other team's there, and you could be in a fight with the guy 3 hours earlier, and you're having a beer with him after the game. It's just the way it is. And definitely unique about the sport of lacrosse. I think the only other sport that's probably close is the rugby guys, because they seem to do the same thing. But with it just being a close knit family, it's just the way it is.
Now, again, we talked about some of your teammates. You and Maritime were known as the Stockton and Malone of lacrosse.
Right. Yeah.
I always love that term. Like, that's that's high praise for sure.
Like, I mean, Marichek really made it easy, to be honest. I think I got a lot of assists just by passing it to him and watching him do his thing. But I think it was a good fit, because one, I was a big body. I could kind of hold my ground, and I could set those big picks. And he, his stick skills were second to none. So if he got an open shot on net, it's going in, 80% of the time. So it was really it was probably as perfect of a match for me as there could be. Just kind of, I was able to get underneath and kind of grab the guy and set a big double pick, and Marichek was able to score a lot of goals.
Like, he's already got this big aura. But could you imagine if YouTube was around when he was playing, kind of like John Grant Jr. and his channel and his stuff? I can only imagine the stuff that Marichek could put on there.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Marichek had some beauties, and watching these games over and over again. I'm still amazed watching the stuff he did. Back then it was almost before its time. Yeah. He, obviously he had the backhand starting from John Grant Sr., but a guy like Marichek, man, he perfected it, and just. It was impressive to watch. I watched him all throughout my high school career, and then fortunately got to play with him for a good long time as well.
Yeah, so it's not family only that's the byproduct, also skill trading, skill sharing.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
It's about family and brotherhood. It's also about the ability to share skills. And
Yeah. No, there's a lot of that, knowing where the other guy's going to go. You kind of just look up and you give him a look a certain way, and you know where he's going, right? And I could, if I had the ball and he was setting a pick, I'd throw the pass, kind of throw a pass up, knowing that he's going to set the pick, push off, and it'll be coming down as he's going to the goal. So we definitely had that. It was almost like a sixth sense, a certain feeling. We just knew where each other was going to be and where the pick was going to be coming in, and it was a special relationship on the field.
now you could call it stick sense. No,
Yes, there you
Me.
go, stick sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like phrase.
Now I want to go through this game with you. That's as painful it is for me. The 2001 championship.
Oh, Gary, you'll get over it, for goodness.
Oh, I know. I've heard Dallas explain it to me, but it's the before the game actually more than the game itself, because remember here in Toronto, we'd had a couple of victories already, 2 years in a row, and these guys were, of course they're expecting to pull it off. They had a great year.
Yep.
And here comes Philadelphia into town, and they catch this media barrage of, basically the parade route is mapped out, and we're just showing you where we're going to be.
Right.
And, well, if you didn't already have a fire lit underneath you, I'm sure that all of this press stuff must have just absolutely drove you crazy enough to go, watch this.
Yeah. We weren't that far off from being champions ourselves, just a few years earlier. But obviously Toronto, they were the big, king of the hill at the time, and they had won a couple of championships. And I just remember we got to the hotel and we checked in, and I kind of hopped up in bed and was watching TV and started seeing these interviews. I remember one with Colin Doyle in particular, that saying how they were going through their three-peat, and just like you said, it would seem to be a done deal for pretty much everyone. So. Not that you really need extra fuel on the fire when you're playing in a championship game, but I feel like that team was similar to that '98 team, where we were gritty. We definitely had less talent than those guys. Outside of Marichek and Dallas, which obviously can make a difference in the game, especially Elliott. But yeah.
Well, you had Mark Millen too, right?
That's true. Yeah, Millen. Yeah,
against the Bars, he had a great game.
Sure, yeah. No, he did. He had a fantastic game. But it's funny. I remember a few things about that game. One, for the TV, they had Marichek and I, before the game, kind of do a face-off against Coyle and Ladouceur, just kind of staring each other down, and that was an awkward moment before the game.
Sure.
But no, that was along with that Heritage Cup victory that we talked about. This was one of the other highlights of my career. Going into Toronto, not really having a chance in the game. And we ended up beating them, I think, by a goal, but it really wasn't that close of a game. We were never in I think they scored with a couple seconds left to make it even close. But yeah. And I remember, they scored and looked up at the clock real quick, and they just slammed their stick down, knowing that they wouldn't really have an opportunity to get another goal. But that was
19,000 I ever sat in.
Yeah. No, that was that was a fun place to play, because he had the fans that were like sitting on your bench. Really just I always loved playing there. I always loved playing in Colorado, just because of the fans, and obviously Philly, but just I always loved a big crowd, a rowdy crowd, and when you hear a silence come over them, that's fun.
Yeah, you just missed the Spectrum though, because those were. I remember going out there and catching a couple of Wings games, and that was nutty. That was absolutely insane in there.
Yeah, no, that was, I never did play there, but all the older players, they'd always said, oh, man, you should have played at the Spectrum, because there's fans just like that were on top of you, during the game. And I guess that's
too, yeah.
Yeah, right. I guess that's the trade-off of not having to wear those spandex, right?
Yeah, I'll take that any day over that too. I'll read about the Spectrum. Thanks.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you were in there with season
Right?
tickets anyways. You were in the crowd with us.
Yeah, sure. Yep, I was there for sure. Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, when you were playing, we were talking earlier, and you were talking with Govett on your other one about the green line in practice and how you wanted to avoid that one.
Green line.
Other guys who weren't going to play, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So we practice on Wednesday nights, and you played on Wednesday night, and he evaluated the play, and then he'd post the players that were going to dress after the game, right? So you were going out there, and it was as hard as a game. You know, you're going out there fighting, and people were obviously, for one, you want to be out there because that's why we play lacrosse. It's the best, most fun game. But also at the time, you got paid less if you didn't play.
Right.
So you're fighting to make that roster. So there was regularly fights in practice, and people were leaving with ice bags and everything else. And I told a story, and this actually was before that, but when I was trying to make the team, we're playing our first, I guess it was 5-on-5 scrimmage. And I come running up the field, and the ball was on the other side, and I'm kind of looking like this. And Chris Bates, who's about half my size, hits me in the chest and knocks me down, knocked the wind out of me. And I kind of just got up like, hey, this is for real, So yeah, I mean, we fought hard in practice, and there was several fights, and that's what Tony wanted to see, though. He wanted to see guys fight for their position.
Now, that's another thing I wanted to bring up is Tony Rush. Now, we heard forever, we've heard about how great Les has been over here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And but Tony, let's talk about him. He doesn't nearly get the recognition that he deserves, I think, even though he is quite up there on a pedestal.
Yeah. No, Tony, I mean, was obviously a great player. He was one of the guys I watched, when I was had the season tickets, but was also an outstanding field player, Team USA, and what I think he kind of was almost like a symbol of what our team was in the grittiness and I always knew he was a good coach. The time that I really knew that he was elite is when we played in that Heritage Cup. And you have guys from all over the United States playing on this team. And he started talking, and there wasn't one person that was, doing anything but listen to him. And I could just see everyone, just every word, hanging on every word that he said. And I knew we had a special guy at that time. Now, we had already won a championship, and I knew he knew what he was doing. But that is the time where I knew he was elite.
Right. And he's as good in field as he is in box.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's coached, world teams. He coached high schools in the Philadelphia area to state championships. And, Tony's a guy that I certainly owe a lot to in my career.
Right. Frank?
Oh, well, when you decided to retire, you talked about your body and stuff giving up on you. How much of a battle was it, because I can imagine hanging on and wanting to maintain, I don't know, what were the things that attracted you the most to staying in the game? The friendship, the competition?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was a little bit of all of that. Obviously you have the friendships and the competition. I'm a competitor in my heart, whether, I'm playing my young son in a video game or if I'm playing for the Wings, I want to win. That's just the way it was. And so, I love that competitiveness. But like I said, it really made it easy for me when I got picked up by that Boston team in the expansion draft. I knew I probably needed to retire. I knew I was getting banged up, and that really helped that decision. I know my dad had the same issue. was unsure when he, wanted to retire. It's one of those things, you don't know what's going to happen, right? Lacrosse has been your life for the last 25, 30 years. Like, I don't know what's going to happen at the end of my career, but I think, that's what made it tough. But the thing that made it easy was that. And then also, I had my son starting to play lacrosse, my daughter starting to play lacrosse.
Mhm.
So I wasn't getting rid of the game completely. I was still staying involved at the youth level, and it's really been fun. I've been coaching my son since he's been about 4 years old, and he has since moved on to high school, and he's had a good career thus far. He's going to go play college in 2 years down at High Point University with John Torpy, who was a teammate of mine. So that's, we're really excited about that. And he's been playing some box as well. And my daughter actually is she's actually on her way back from a big box tournament down at Loyola University, where they had, a team from the East Coast All-Stars, West Coast. I think there's an Ontario team and there's one other team. So, Kevin Crowley's down there coaching. You see these, big time players, coaching these girls, which is, really exciting because historically the girls haven't played a ton of box lacrosse.
Right.
And what's great about it is they listen, right? You take a bunch of boys and they're going to go do their things, but the girls want to learn. And it's really fun watching them grow as box players. And man, if you go to the US Box, Instagram today, you'll see some videos of that were pretty spectacular.
The girls play, equipment's a different issue for them, right? Do you think women are ready to play by the same rules?
Yeah. So what these girls are playing is the same as what the boys play, which is cool. I think
it's not everywhere like that, right?
No. This is, I think almost all these girls, maybe for the exception of some of the Canadian girls, these guys all play high school and they play girls field lacrosse, which is just a pair of goggles, and that's pretty much it. And, I saw a tweet from Casey Powell maybe a week or two ago, and I think there needs to be some middle ground. I would love to see the girls put some pads on and make it a little more physical and take the whistle out of the ref's mouth a little bit. I don't want to, knock down the girls' game at all, but if they could probably push those two games together a little bit more, I think it'd be more fun for the girls, and I think it'd be more fun, to watch as well.
Could you imagine watching them shooting if they had pockets in those sticks? Because some of the shots I'm watching in Worlds are just incredible. That's
it's amazing.
Could you imagine if they had the pockets you guys had?
I've been watching that girl Charlotte North, and man, she fires it probably harder than I ever did.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
Yeah.
Now I keep looking at the jersey over your shoulder there, and I want to talk about the retirement ceremony because I've watched a couple of them here in Toronto, and that's a huge deal here. Now,
sure,
that's something else to put an exclamation part on your career there in Philadelphia. I remember the ceremony. I remember all of that, and just talk us through that, just the emotion of that.
So it was. It really is indescribable. I was, I've already told you I've been going to the Spectrum and Wells Fargo for my whole life, and you look up there and there's Dr. J and Iverson and Bobby Clark and you name it, the greatest players in Philly sports history, and to be, even mentioned in the same sentence as those guys, having my jersey retired and put up in the rafters, a really surreal, time. And I still get people that go down to watch a Sixers game and they snap a picture and send it to me. And I just couldn't be more proud. And the Wings had that hiatus for a while where they left and went up to Connecticut, and the team, and it was just an empty feeling, not for not seeing the jersey up there, but just not having a team in Philly. And they came back, they gave us another little ceremony when they put them back up, the three of us. And the feeling that gives me is indescribable.
Yeah, I would imagine. Now let's go to the State of the Union now. Now the NLL's finally it's got its TV deals in place. It's got ESPN. It's got TSN. All the stuff that I've been screaming about forever about
Yeah,
getting this thing out to the mainstream and getting it out on cable that people can actually see it and stop being the greatest secret in mankind. Um,
agree.
how do you figure that the league should be stepping forward? One of my things is, and we talked about it at the beginning a bit, was the All-Star game. I think as for an ESPN or a TSN idea, what better way to showcase some of the greatest talent in the world than to bring back an All-Star game?
I think that's a no-brainer. And as a player, that was some of the most fun times I had. You're in a locker room and a guy like Colin Doyle, who we bashed heads for the last 10 years, we're sitting in the locker room together, figuring out how we're going to score a goal. So, that was fun. But yeah, I think for the league, that's great. And I certainly think the league is in good hands right now. Like, I just feel like it's heading in the right direction. Um, Being able to catch every game. It's been a long time since every Philadelphia Wings game's been on TV, whether it's on our Comcast or our local stations. We got to watch them all, if we weren't there. And my son's a big fan, and we want to watch them all. So I love the team. I still think it needs to be more mainstream. It needs to, be in all the newspaper articles, and it needs to be in all the, I love seeing the clips on Top 10, Sports Center Top 10. So I think it's heading in the right direction to basically get out there. They need to try to capture that fan that never played lacrosse,
Right.
And I wish there was a magic 8 ball that would, tell me exactly how that's done. But I've never taken someone to a Wings lacrosse game and then say, "Oh, that was awful." They all love it. So.
Well, one of the things Frank had mentioned before was, now that it's on a mainstream thing, a pub owner can leave ESPN on or TSN on,
Yeah.
and not have to worry about it. And the game's coming on, and it's amazing to watch how many people just automatically, boom, they're watching it. I used to do it with my phone. I'd be sitting in a pub, and I would have the game on my phone. It was NLL TV or the other ones they were using. And before you know it, I'm looking over my shoulders, 4 or 5 people watching the game over my shoulder. It's amazing how magnetic it is.
I went down and visited a buddy down in Hilton Head, and it was over the championship weekend here with Buffalo, Colorado. And I was watching, and we're sitting at a bar down there, and I said, "Hey, can we turn on ESPNU?" I think it was on, or ESPNU was one of them. And they flipped it over, and just like you said, there's guys, and they see me watching it, and then the people that don't really know about it's a conversation starter, and they're asking me, "Oh, how do you know about this game?" And it's just it catches your eye, it really does. And the sport, just again, the speed and the hitting and the goal scoring, and I mean, how do you not like it?
It's true. And also for the league,
it's important that it needs to be on regular television, because bars are places where a lot of sports fans go, and they go to watch a football game, but they can leave having watched a lacrosse game. That's the key, I think, to at least spreading the word and the news and the game. We've seen a lot of stuff change.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I don't know how it is league wide, but obviously there's the ESPN Plus deal where you can catch all the games there, but locally here in Philly, you can flip on the TV and you can watch every single game live. And I think that's a big deal. I think, advertising, I would still love to see it out there more, but definitely have made steps in the right direction, at least here in Philly. And I think it's just a matter of time.
And as much as I'd love to have seen Toronto in the finals or even Philadelphia in the final, I think the league lucked out by having Colorado and Buffalo as your finalists, because those are the 2 biggest attendance still. And to have full barns in both cities on TV, on national TV, I think that's a big eye catcher for somebody who's never seen it before, going, whoa.
I agree. I agree 100%, man. When I was watching, I actually was down there when the first game was going on, and just watching, how involved everyone was, and just I mean, it's special, and the season that Buffalo had was unbelievable. I followed them a bit, watching Dane Smith and what he does, and
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunate for them. I think they were the better team, but that's better team doesn't always win, and
Yeah,
and
they're cursed that way.
Colorado, you gotta go hats off to them. They made a hell of a run there, and to go into that place and win.
Well, that's
That's
Buffalo
pretty
running into a
impressive.
hot goalie 2 finals in a row. Because if you remember,
Yeah,
in 2019, Kristen Del Bianco stoned them dead.
yeah,
And
yeah. And hey,
Calgary
man,
won.
I've been on the other end of that where my
Yeah.
goalies has stole some games. So I've watched it in ice hockey. I watched it in lacrosse, and you get a hot goalie at the right time, man. It's like you couldn't throw a marble by him.
Hmm.
And then there's times you feel like you could shoot a beach ball by him. So it really is. That's the biggest difference maker in the game.
But not to contradict you guys, I think another factor was that Colorado, with their injuries, that locker room really pulled together. Like,
Yeah,
there's something about athletes, right? You can speak to this better than I can. I can only do it from a, just a basically recreational version. But from a professional version, when you're challenged because you have a player that goes down that is important to your team, it does, and it can elevate other players. And not to suggest the goalie didn't win the series, but the goalie alone couldn't have won that series. Some
yeah,
Colorado players had to play above and beyond what their normal, standard was. And that's the great thing about winning championships, right?
yeah. And to be honest, I mean the the difference between a really good player, a great player, and an average player, it's not that much. I
No, it is.
mean, you could put guys that are on the green line, as you called it, that were sitting out, and they could go in and have 3 or 4 goals easily.
Right.
It's and that's why it was such a big deal fighting for our position, because if that guy behind you goes in and has a good game, you're likely not playing the next game either. So, yeah, I mean that's the same way individually too. You hear about Michael Jordan when he got sick and goes out and has a career game. That's the same thing. Like, it's almost like you don't think about it. You guys just got to elevate your game, and whether it's yourself being sick or your buddies being sick or out with the injury, everyone just elevates their game, and certainly that's what happened.
Yeah, and especially in the playoffs, the reason you said the difference between really the great players and the really good players and average players is so small. But
It
the other
is.
thing is it's such a short time frame that you have to play well. That a
Right.
player who normally doesn't play really, really well, if he can catch lightning in a bottle for a couple of games, that's history. He makes
Yeah.
history.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you don't have to be the best team. You have to be the best team that night.
Hmm.
And what made it even better for them is they had to be the best team over 3 nights.
Yeah.
And they did that, fortunately, 2 out of the 3.
Yeah, Colorado and lacrosse in general really won because of that series. I mean, it was great that
Agreed.
they played the
Hmm.
third game. It was great that game, even though the score was a couple of goals difference, the winning game, it still was a little closer than that score indicated. So
Agreed.
anybody who actually took the time to sit and watch the games, there wasn't a moment in any of the 3 games where really it wasn't competitive. So that
Right.
spoke well, to the competition level at the NLL, and that's part of what sells tickets.
Yeah. I mean, at any given time, the worst team in the league can go out and knock off the best team in the league and by a few goals.
Hmm.
They can make it look easy. So, it's, you have to have that consistency through the years. You have to win your playoff games, and then you have to win the best. I mean, that's hard to do. It's hard to do for any team. And the team that perseveres over that whole season, that's the ones that are coming out on top.
We don't have much time left. This raises a question I'd like to ask you. As a player who's won a championship, as a player who hasn't won a championship, as a player, how easy is it to grasp the winning attitude during a series when you don't have it and you feel you don't have it? how hard is it to
Yeah.
get back? Like to get it going back?
It's tough. Now, I didn't play a lot of series. We played that one in '98, in the playoffs, that is. But it's tough. So the funny thing is, in high school, I won 2 state championships. College, I won 2 national championships. I won 2 indoor championships with the Wings, and all of especially in the indoor, I won them early in my career, and then later in the career, you so desperately want to get back to that feeling, and it's not easy to do. And that's exactly the feeling I had. I just felt like no matter what we did, we couldn't get over that hump to get back into that, championship. And I guess I don't really, at the time, I didn't really realize how special it was what I had done in high school and college in the pros until I had that extended period after 2001 where I didn't win again.
Right. I just want to ask before we're done, what's your take on the PLL, the Premier Lacrosse League, now after being an MLS?
Yeah, so I love the lacrosse. I think obviously it's the best field players in the game, and I love the different styles. You have the Chaos team that's obviously very Canadian dominated and very box and had a great year and won last year. I love all of it. The only downside that I see as as a fan more than even a player is I'd like to see the teams have a home base, where they can get some sort of a rooting fan base behind them, as opposed to, just a lacrosse fan going out and just being a lacrosse fan of any. And now I know there's teams that kids like, and they want to, be the Trevor Baptiste, or they want to be, whoever. But I feel like if a city or a team could get rallied around a little bit, I think that would be better in the overall picture. But I mean, I think it's great for these players. They're making some money and they're getting some, benefits, along the way. And I love watching it on the TV in the summers, and, it's great lacrosse. So it's good for the game. It's the only thing that I'd like to see different.
And they have an all-star game.
And they have an all-star game, yeah.
And I'm more riveted to the skills competitions than I am to the game itself.
Sure,
because
yeah.
The game is fun, but those skills competitions are just amazing what these guys can do.
It really is. And they just get better and better every year, right?
Yeah. It's horrifying, actually, what they can do. Like, because I've watched Jeff Teat since he was a little kid, being, Brampton area, and watching him go into the man he's become. It's just incredible. Both field
he's
and
special. He's special. It's funny. I start seeing these names that are popping up in college lacrosse and the pros, and I grabbed my son. I was like, I know that guy. I know. I played with his dad, or I know this guy. It's funny watching those, O'Keefe's and these guys just going up through the ranks. So it's cool to see, and hopefully, my kids and some of my close friends' kids can follow in some footsteps.
Okay, gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it there. Gary, you want to say your goodbye?
Yeah, I really want to thank you, Jake, for taking the time to do this. It's been great. It's been a whole lot of fun and reliving an awful lot of fun memories and things like that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me, and it's great for me too to bring these memories back and rehash the things, and some of those that make you laugh and some that make you cry. But I mean, what a great run it was.
Well, thank you, Jake. It was a real pleasure meeting you, and always nice to get together with an NLL legend, Jake Bergey. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, for Jake and Gary, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching NLL Lacrosse Talk, seen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network for lacrosse talk, news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer. Please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again next Thursday.